Last time again Karma Yoga. Third chapter, Bhagavad Gita. So the context for this chapter we discussed in chapter 2. Krishna gave an overview of everything, all the principles, and then Arjuna gets a question whether he talked about Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, everything in second chapter. So Arjuna gets a doubt whether he should renounce the war and go to forest, or should he fight. He wasn't sure. And then he asks Krishna, we discussed 3 verses in the last week. He asks Krishna, why do you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than purity work? So Arjuna wanted clarity on what he should be doing. So he says, my intelligence is bewildered by your instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be the most beneficial thing for me. And then Krishna starts answering from verse 3. From verse 3 to verse 9, the focus will be on clarifying Arjuna that he should perform his duty of fighting. So we will read in detail these verses. This also we studied. So this verse says, Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless one, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are 2 classes of men who are trying to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation and others by devotion service. So Krishna is talking about Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. If one wants to realize oneself, he can achieve either through Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga or Karma Yoga. Now here he would clarify further what he means in the next verse. ओमज्ञातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातं हन्ति श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्. Verse number 4, we'll begin today's class. न कर्मणाम् अनारम्भान् नैष्कर्म्यान् पुरुषोऽस्मि पचासन्
सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति.
Anyone wants to read this translation for me?
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection.
Krishna is saying, not by just stopping your work, you will achieve, just because you stopped working, you will not achieve freedom from reaction. It means that there will be reaction even if you stop working. Nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. Many people think that, if you want to achieve self-realization, you need to just renounce work. Right? That is the understanding. You have to give up everything and go to forest and meditate. Many people have such misunderstandings. So Krishna is very clearly clarifying that just by giving up your work, you will not achieve freedom from reaction. The whole point is one has to purify himself before he can renounce anything. So renunciation is not an external exhibit, meaning there is externality and internality, right? You can give up, you may wear sannyas robe externally, okay, but internally you may still be having material desires to go eat nice things and to enjoy movies or whatever, right? So there is external factor and internal factor. Krishna is saying, just by external renunciation, you will not achieve perfection. He is just giving up your duty of war, and doesn't mean that you will be protected. Actually, it is your duty. If you give up your duty, you will be incurring sin. That's what Krishna means. So, if you are a Kshatriya, you have a certain duty. You have to perform the duty, and the process get purified and achieve perfection. But merely giving up your duty is not going to give you any perfection. So it is also applicable to all of us. Sometimes people get frustrated with material life, and think that I'll give up everything and take sannyas, or renounce the world, and go to. It doesn't work like that, because by nature we are active. The soul is active. We need engagement, and we have to purify our heart. If we don't purify our heart and try to renounce externally, for example, Arjuna goes to forest by giving up his fight, and there somebody says, "Hey, Arjuna, you are so timid, you are so weak that you ran away from war." What does he do? He will get anger and get frustrated and may kill that guy right away. He will show his power with him. So why? Because we need to be purified to give up anything. First comes the internals, then comes externals. You see the point? There is internal renunciation and external renunciation. External renunciation means wearing, giving up your duties, and wearing sannyas robes. These are all external symptoms. Internals are where you have a renounced spirit. You may be in the world just like water on a lotus leaf. On the lotus leaf, water will not
Stick. Stick.
stick. Yeah. Okay. Water will not stick. Like that, we can be in this world. We can be in this world, but not of this world. Meaning, we can be in this world, but not materialistic in this world. Meaning, we don't only worry about material life all the time. So that's very important principle. Yeah. So Prabhupada says the same thing. The renounced order of life can be accepted when one has been purified by the discharge of prescribed form of duties, which are laid down just to purify the hearts of materialistic men. Without purification, one cannot attain success by abruptly adopting the fourth order of life. So one has to first do inner purification. The externals are secondary. It doesn't matter. Externals are to aid internals. They're not the means for the internals. You see the point? Externals are to aid internals, but not the means for the internals. Just by becoming, wearing a sannyas robe, you won't become a sannyas. First, purify your heart by performing your duties. When you are ready, then you can adopt externals so that you can perform your duties. You can fully dedicate your life for God. Okay, that's the whole purpose of external adoption. But anyway, this is not for us at this point. According to empirical philosophers, simply by adopting sannyasa or retiring from fruitive activities, one at once becomes as good as Narayana. That is wrong. So, but Lord Krishna does not approve these principles. Without purification of the heart, sannyas is simply a disturbance to the social order. Right? We have seen many in the name of religion, and many people try to cheat by wearing sannyas robes. Externally, they wear sannyas. When they wear sannyas, people think that, oh, he's a great yogi, and they give donations, they give all privileges to him, respects and donations and everything, and they actually use that as an opportunity to cheat people, right? There will be always people like that. So we have to be very careful. Especially, I remember once I went to Tirupati, Tirupati is a Balaji temple in South India, Andhra Pradesh, very famous temple, right? So these cheaters know actually that there are a lot of people come with all good intentions here to this place, and they're um, very uh, charitable when they are in the dhams like Tirupati, right? If somebody, so many people, many cheaters also come there to cheat people because they know all innocent people. Everybody comes there and they're very, uh, you know, they really know that these people can be easily cheated, right? Some of them are very innocent and they are with a very pure heart. And these people, they what do they say? Oh, I lost my purse. I don't have money to go to my native place. Can you give some money for tickets? Or they will say, my daughter is ill. We want to operate, and please donate. So, and because people go with a pious mind to such places, and they don't really want to verify, they just give donations. That's what happens, right? So similarly, even there will be people in there will be people who adopt sannyas robes, but they're not really renounced. They don't know Bhagavad Gita, they don't know philosophy, but they just wear sannyas robes so that they can easily get respect, donations, privileges. Okay, so we have to be careful. Just by seeing such people, we should not think that, oh, all these people are like this. It's not like that. There are always cheaters in every field. Whether it is a medical field or spirituality, everywhere there will be cheaters. So it is up to us to be very careful. Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to drive. Yeah.
Prabhuji,
Yes, Prabhu. Nikhil Prabhu.
so what is the characteristics of sannyasi? I mean, this is a great example, and uh, it is definitely we see a lot of examples in the current age where a lot of dongi sadhu baba is around.
Yeah,
So how one can say that he's a true sannyasi, or what is the definition like
yeah,
in
very
terms
good
of
question.
practical life?
How do we know one is a very spiritually advanced person? Okay, we can discuss what they have and what they don't have also. Hmm? Uh, for example, what they or what are the things we can easily identify that they are cheats, right? They project themselves as gods, or they project themselves as saintly people, or people worship them as gods. That is a straight no. That Baba is completely fraud. Why? Because if somebody is a god, there is evidence in scriptures for that. Krishna, Rama, Lord Chaitanya, Parshurama, all these are all incarnations, and they're all mentioned in the scriptures already. No, Kalki is going to come in the future. It's all mentioned. There is nothing that's going to, um, and there is a time frame and there is a place where they're going to come. Everything is in the scriptures. So if anybody, if anybody postulates that, oh, I am God, you can immediately understand he's a cheat. Okay, that's first thing. And the second thing is people who try to attract with some magical healings, right? I heal you like this. You do this puja, you pay this money, you do this sacrifice, you get this benefit. That's another second cheating. They're completely fraud. Third, these are like right out frauds, very bad frauds. And there are people who shot up to fame, but they're not really following a great process. For example, there are gurus who do not follow scriptures properly. They have their philosophical bent of mind and they teach according to their understanding. Tomorrow, somebody can come and they can, who is smarter than this guy and can teach better philosophy than him. There is no base for them. Like, for example, you go to court, whatever statement you make should be backed up by the law of the land. right? There is a law book for the nation. You have to back up by the law of the land. Similarly, any statement you make in spiritual life, or any spiritual statement you make, should be able to be backed up by the scriptural evidence. You should be able to point, just like a lawyer should be able to point to this law number 30. This distinction speaks like this. So similarly, you should be able to back up your statements you make about spirituality by by scripture. If you are speaking outright of your mind, anybody can come and speak better than you. There is no baseline for that. There is no, they're not outright cheat, but they're also kind of cheats only, because they're not giving the right thing. They're manufacturing some process and giving to people, right?
Yes.
And what is a true guru? A true spiritual teacher sticks to the three principles. One is guru, sadhu, and sastra. Whatever they speak should be in line with sastras, means scriptures. If I speak something, it should be backed by scripture. First thing.
Mhm.
Second thing, I should have a guru, means I cannot outright become self-proclaimed God or guru myself. Because to become a good teacher, you should first become a good student.
Yeah.
So every bona fide teacher highly adores their own teacher. They have they gratefully accept everything they teach as coming from a teacher themselves. They don't proclaim any knowledge they have to be of their own. Okay? They always give all credit to their teachers. They don't take any credit for themselves.
Right.
That's the humility, that's the gratitude they exhibit, a real teacher. Okay? And their
Yes.
teachings are in line with Guru Parampara, meaning it should not be something that I am speaking on my own. It should be in line with teachers who are teaching from thousands of years, not just 10 years, 100 years, 50 years, 500 years. It should be in line with eternal principles. It should be in line, go back thousands of years. Whatever we teach now should be in line with those teachings. Okay?
Yes.
So that sanctity should be maintained, that purity should be maintained, right? So all these are important principles. The problem is that many people come out seeking some kind of peace in this world, and they adopt any process. Somebody teaches some meditation in the name of spirituality. Somebody else teaches some other hot yoga, hatha yoga. So many institutes are there,
Yes.
and they in fact give some kind of mental peace. It's like a pacification means you are stressed out, you get some kind of a um, uh, number means you have some pain. For example, you have teeth pain. I'll give you some kind of a medicine such that your pain stops temporarily. Pacification. You won't feel the pain immediately. So most of the things that go on in the name of spirituality are actually the pacification tools. They're only giving you some kind of short-term relief. But what you want is inner purification. Inner purification means you need to fight out your anger, lust, greed, envy, false prestige. All these are our enemies. You need to fight out internally, which means you need to go through purification, not pacification. There is a great difference. There is a great difference between purification and pacification. Pacification is going to give you temporary relief. You may experience some kind of happiness, bliss in a spiritual program, but that's not what you want. You want a permanent relief, which means you want to completely purify your heart. Then you would experience true happiness. Okay, that's what the aim of the teachings of Gita. Okay, many people who don't adapt to scriptures and adapt to some random process, thinking that I don't need to do all this learning. I can just I can just do some meditation and achieve perfection. It doesn't work like that. You have to pay the price. You have to understand. You have to gain the knowledge, apply the knowledge, and then achieve the perfection.
Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji, for explaining.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, this is Dinesh. I have one more question if you don't mind scrolling back up to text 4.
Yes, Prabhuji. Dinesh Prabhu.
Yeah, so here the first part definitely makes sense, where without purifying your heart, if you adopt sannyasa, I think it says that it'll be a disturbance to the social order. I think that totally makes sense. The
Yes.
last line, I'm still a bit confused. So on the other hand, if someone takes to the transcendental service of the Lord, even without discharging his or her prescribed duties, wouldn't that also be a disturbance to the social order if you just abruptly gave up everything, your responsibilities, and you suddenly took up I'm guessing this is the bhakti yoga part, which definitely makes sense, but would that also not be some sort of a disruption to the social order? Because if everyone started doing that, then there would be nobody left to do any work.
Yeah, but generally it doesn't happen like that. Not everybody will. Not everybody in the world will become doctors in a day, right? It takes certain heart to actually do that. But the difference between ordinary sannyas and taking to bhakti yoga is, in bhakti yoga, people actually completely engage their senses in the service of the Lord. Okay, which means, for example, I know there are brahmacharis friends I have. So what do they do? I have my friend who was an IITian, who studied in IIT Delhi. We both came to Krishna consciousness at same time. We were debating. I was also inclined towards taking, completely renouncing everything. But my mindset was not as convinced at the time for this process. But his mindset was convinced. Later on, what did he do? He was serving his spiritual master, his guru. He completely adopted spiritual life, and he helped teach thousands of students in IITs, various over. As of what I know, he had taught about at least 10,000 people the teachings of Gita. He could reach out and teach, and he adopted so many programs to help these students gain this knowledge, and he helped build many temples, or spiritual centers where more people can come together and practice spiritual life. In this way, he helped. So he adopted the entire world as his family and helped them, right? So in this path, in Bhakti Yoga, one can actually actively engage his senses in helping the society. So in that sense, it is actually not just giving up work. Okay, there is the sannyasa that Prabhupada is referring in the first section is where people adopt sannyasa, they don't do any activity. But in Bhakti Yoga, you can fully engage in your senses and actually serve the society in a better way. There should be some people who sacrifice like that. For example, I cannot go and start a temple. I cannot go and do, he teaches 4 or 5 classes a day. I teach 2 classes a week. There is a gulf of difference, right? We need such people also to inspire at a larger scale. Just like there are, there are stars in every field. There will be people who can, we need at that level also. They are like completely driven by it. You see the difference? But the sannyas that the initial section refers to is where people just give up their work. They just go beg, and they simply become burden to the society.
That's a very good point, Prabhuji. Bhakti yoga just alone does not mean it is equal to sannyasa. I think you can still serve the society through the bhakti yoga part
You can
while continuing
yeah,
your life.
correct. For example, I do what? I I I do a software job and I earn money. Part of my money I donate. Part of my money I use in you know in advancing spiritual life, spirituality. I donate some books, or I donate for, and then I teach. I do partially. I don't do fully, but This is, everybody can do according to their capacity. There is no set standard, or you have to do like this only at this level. So based on your capacity, based on your I do like 10%. He gave his 100% to Krishna. I give only 10%. We are friends, like before we connect with each other regularly. He encourages me, and I appreciate his efforts. So it works like that, right? So in Bhakti Yoga, you can contribute at any level. There is no limit to it. Okay,
Thank you, Prabhuji.
yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu nistani akarma krit karyate hi avasa karma sarvah prakriti jair gunai. Yeah, next. Dinesh Prabhu, can you read? Dinesh Prabhu, can you read?
Oh, sorry, Prabhu, I didn't hear that. The translation, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Translation.
Oh, I think, Prabhuji, there is your camera video is just, okay, now I can read it correctly. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
So every one of us activity is the nature of the soul. We cannot just give up our work. Okay, based on your psychophysical nature, one has to work. If you artificially give up, it's just matter of time. Your nature would come back in full force. You cannot artificially restrain yourself. All of us are influenced by the modes of nature. Okay, one may say, by adopting sannyas, I will go out of the influence of modes of material nature. It is not the modes of material nature that one is influenced by that makes one act. It is, action is intrinsic to the soul. Soul itself is active principle. It's not a passive principle. Body is a burden to the soul. Okay, all the body that we have is like a burden to the soul. Then when we are in this body, we have, based on our karma, we are influenced by certain modes in this life. Modes are basically mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and mode of goodness, right? Three modes. So we are at any time influenced by these modes. Sometimes we are too passionate. Sometimes we are, sattvic. We are soft. Sometimes we are ignorant completely. So these are the modes in which our mind, works out all the time. So we need to act according to our nature. We should not artificially restrain our work.
Prabhuji, really quickly, what were the three modes you mentioned? You mentioned modes of passion, modes of ignorance. What was the third one?
Mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and mode of goodness. Sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna. Gunas. These are gunas that influence our action. So at any point, we're always influenced by these modes based on our karma. And people are primarily in one of these modes. Somebody is primarily in mode of goodness. There will always mix of all the three in his actions, but primarily somebody is, we see some people are very passionate. They're actually in the mode of passion primarily. Somebody, they're not interested in any action. They're just lazy, want to, just pass time without doing any action, right? So those are people are primarily in the mode of ignorance or tamoguna. All of us are primarily in one mode, but we always move between the modes. And everything is divided like that. Actions are divided into three modes. a day is divided into three modes. For example, morning time is primarily time of, what do you think? Is it time of sattva guna or rajoguna or tamoguna? Anybody
Sattva.
wants to answer?
Sattva guna.
Yeah, sattva guna. That's why all spiritual practices should better be done in the morning, especially in Brahma Muhurta time.
Okay.
And at 9 o'clock, what happens? Rajoguna kicks in everybody. They start planning for work, and we become passionate. Time for work. And then as soon as 6 o'clock or 6:30, 7 o'clock comes, we become tired and become more or less influenced by mode of ignorance. That's why you don't want to study scriptures very late in the night, after 7 o'clock. Your mind cannot understand philosophy at the time. You are in a downward movement. Okay.
Okay.
So that is tamoguna. That's when all the wine shops become active, right? Tamoguna.
Yes,
All
Prabhu.
the liquor shops become quite active.
Yes.
All the clubhouse
Party animals come out.
party time, night 9 to 12.
Yes.
Those are primarily people who are in the mode of ignorance. They want to drink, become more ignorant, and those people are completely sleepy in the morning, right?
Yes.
In the morning, all the spiritual inclined people wake up early in the morning. They wake up sometimes at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
So,
And
Prabhu, what is the best time? The goodness, mode of goodness starts like it's a 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock kind of.
yeah, generally 4 o'clock is good enough.
4.
Yeah, 4 to 6:30 is
Mhm.
ideal time to practice meditation, chanting or anything. I
So,
mean,
Prabhu,
up to 8:30 is fine, but ideally it is 6:30, before 6:30. Yes.
Prabhuji, I have a question. But we light the lamp in our house at like in the evening also, right? Like diya at 6:30, and we pray.
Yeah.
So then like we chant or we sing the holy name, right? In the evenings we do that. So does that mean that like the effect of that is less because we're doing it during a time when it's in the mode of ignorance?
No, actually that we do because there are standards, right? We do morning called Mangalarti, and in the evening we do Shaina Arati, and there are artis that we can do, adopt certain times of a day and do it. That should be fine. If it is something that you are doing regularly in the evenings, right? That's your timetable. That works fine. It doesn't mean. But ideally, if you do in the morning, it's more beneficial. Especially meditation. I'm not talking about aratis. Aratis are bhajans, pujas. They happen in the evenings also. Many times we see many programs that happen in the evenings. So that should be fine.
Okay. Prabhuji, one more question. In this text 4, like if you scroll up, there's one sentence there that, um, uh, Prabhuji, let me just read this. It says, if someone takes to Krishna consciousness, even though he may not follow the prescribed duties in the Shastras or execute the devotional service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him.
So Krishna himself says, Salpam apyasa dharmasa trayate mahdo bhayat. This is to assure, Arjuna asks Krishna one question later on in the 5th chapter or 6th chapter. So what happens to a yogi who does not achieve perfection in this very life? Ideally, yogi performs, yoga so that he achieves self-realization in this life. What if he does not achieve perfection in this life? He achieves only partial. He achieves partial success. May say he achieved only 30% success. Is that effort lost? For example, anything you achieve in material life, say you become like as rich as Bill Gates, will that continue in your next life? Aranya Mataji?
No, the money won't, but your spiritual practice will, right? Like where you left off, that will.
That's what this verse means. If you make 60% progress, you start with 61. And Krishna also says how exactly it happens. You will be born in a very rich family. That's the least thing that happens. You make, say, 10% progress or 5% progress. You chanted only few times in your lifetime. You will be Srimatam Gehe, means you will be born in a very rich family. By being born in a rich family, your basic necessities will not be a problem for you. Okay? Or if you are little more advanced in this life and you did not perfect your life, then you will be born, um, you know, Suchinam in a Brahmana family where it's easy to adopt spiritual life. Very pious families. Okay. If you are very advanced, you will be born in a very highly advanced yogis family who completely follows all spiritual principles already. Okay. So there is no law, and you would start from the percentage which you completed already. I have seen my own life. I started my spiritual life, and then I have seen some of my friends start at same time. Some of them are really, really advanced from previous life. Because how do you say, when I was still struggling with whether really God exists, after adopting all this, I'm still having a lot of doubts whether God exists or For them, it was so easy. Actually, they're able to. I can see my friend's case. Actually, he was able to, very quickly advance. Later on I realized actually he's advanced from before, from his previous life, and his guru, gave him multiple initiations as very quickly, and when he dedicated his life. Different people go at different pace. It doesn't mean anything is low, or it doesn't matter. Um, you know, we can start from anywhere and achieve perfection in this life. That's possibility. Or we can continue from previous life and be at a, just like sometimes we see there is a match that starts, right? A cricket match that starts, and suddenly we see Australia 231, India 0. We see.
Prabhu, we cannot hear you.
Oh, we're not able to hear.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear now? Anybody? I can hear you. Can you all hear me? Hello, Haribol. I can't hear you. Can anybody hear me?
So he should be joining.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
Yeah, no.
Let me stop video because that will be taking some thing. I think this is better. Can you hear me better?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Where are we right now? Oh, sorry, I lost connection. Yeah. So I was telling, everybody's, I was talking about cricket match. In a cricket match, suddenly we may say, oh, how is that Australia has 230 and India has 0 runs now? We can understand that when we learn about the previous innings. There is a previous innings and current innings. Somebody starts ahead than other because they had done something in the previous innings. They were having 200 more runs in the previous innings. So in the second innings, they are plus 200 runs. You see the point? So like that, everybody starts their spiritual journey based on their previous progress.
Prabhu, and on this same point, so
Yes, Sagar.
If a person born in a rich family, some people may not know any spirituality, right? Even though they are very rich, they don't know any spirituality things.
Correct.
They do a lot of illegal things.
Right.
So how do we understand those kind of people? Does that mean that they are not?
So
They're
yeah, it
they're
doesn't.
not. Sorry.
Right, sorry. Continue, Prabhu. Sorry.
Yeah. So does that mean that they are not spiritual people in previous life?
Yes.
They just got that as a blessing
Correct.
from God, or
Not a
how do
blessing.
we understand them?
Not blessing. Everything comes according to one's karma. If one person was pious, somehow pious in the previous life, okay? So based on his previous actions, suppose he donated something or he gave some books, because he gave some books in this life, he will study from a Stanford University, because of small good action he did in the previous life. It doesn't mean much. It just comes as a reaction to his previous action. So just by being pious, like for example, Bill Gates is doing extreme amount of donation. What happens to his next life? He will be born in a very, very high planets like Sargaloka or some, where he can live for thousands of years happily.
Right.
Right. It is just based on his actions. But what I talked is a special privilege given to those who are on the spiritual path. And that is not because of their pious activities in the previous life, but because of their spiritual activity. You see the difference? Good action and bad action have no real consequence in terms of spiritual progress. I tell the story of Dhritarashtra. One time Dhritarashtra asks Lord Krishna, why do I have to see the death of 100 of my sons before my eyes?
Yes, we know that. Yeah.
What impious action did I do in my previous life that I have to go through this kind of suffering? Did I already tell this story in the class?
Yes, Prabhu. I think he killed 100 birdlings in the previous life.
So he killed 100. He was a hunter in his one of the previous lives, and so he killed birds and before his mother, before the bird's mother. The mother bird actually suffered the killing of all his children. And Dhritarashtra, who was a hunter at the time, he actually took pleasure in that action. Now, because he has done that, and he does not have pious credits to have 100 children, in his next many lives, he does several pious activities. He is forced to act in various ways such that he gets 100 sons in his future birth. He gets 100 sons because of his pious activities after being the hunter in many lifetimes. And in the lifetime as Dhritarashtra, he gets these 100 sons who came because of his pious activities in the past life. But because of his impious activity long time ago, he had to go through the suffering of killing of all the 100 sons before his eyes. So that's why I'm saying good actions and bad actions have no consequence in terms of spiritual progress. They just, come and go as per our credits, as per our karma.
Got it, Prabhu. Thank you.
So this one, Sagar Prabhu, can you read? Yeah, we already read
Yes,
this.
Prabhu.
We already read this, right? Everyone is forced to act.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah. So here is a clarification on that. It is not a question of embodied life. It's not because of the influence of the modes that one acts helplessly, but it is in the nature of the soul to be always active. The soul is always active, but because we are based on our past vasanas, our past karma would influence and create certain vasanas or certain desires in our mind, we act helplessly under the influence of the modes. Okay, but if we are not under the influence of the modes, if we act like a pure spirit soul, like I was telling about my friend, he was fully acting to help others, the society at large, right? Um, so the soul is fully active in his case to serve people, to to make his own spiritual progress further, as well as help in the process everybody else. Yeah. So Prabhupada is saying, without the presence of the spirit soul, the material body cannot move. The body is only a dead vehicle to be worked by the spirit soul, which is always active and cannot stop even for a moment. Soul is always active, right? Even sometimes when we sleep, we get dreams, right? In the dreams, what happens exactly? Anybody knows? So we discussed we have multi-level existence. We are the spirit soul. We have the subtle body consisting of what all things constitutes subtle body?
Mind, intelligence, false ego.
Yeah, we have the mind, intelligence, and false ego, the subtle body, which is material but very subtle. It's not physical, it's subtle. And then gross body. When we are conscious, when we are in the daytime, when our eyes are open, our consciousness from the spirit soul flows through the subtle body, through the external senses to the outside, right? So the consciousness from the heart flows outward through the subtle body to outside world. Through our eyes we see, right? We perceive things in this world. So our consciousness is active at the body and beyond. And when we are sleeping in the dream state, when you get dreams, the body is inactive, but the soul is active. Its consciousness is active up to the subtle body. Your mind is active at the time. You think of going to India, talking to your mom. All of that happens um, in the subtle body, in the mind. You're not doing anything. It feels like it is real, isn't it? It also gives us a clue we are not this body. Why? I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a king. The king, one day he was asleep, and in the sleep, he feels that he was a butterfly. Okay, and he was going from one flower to other flower, drinking the nectar from the flowers, happily flying again and again to different flowers. In the morning, he wakes up and he felt so good being a butterfly. And it was like a real thing for him at the time. I mean, all of us have that experience. Sometimes we, float around in this world, or you get different dreams, right? Or I sometimes get the dream of exams. Have you ever got, some exam is there very soon, and I'm not prepared? Kind of dreams I get. I used to get. I mean, especially when I was a student, I very vividly remember, and I used to wake up in anxiety and feel that, oh, thank God there is no exam tomorrow morning. Uh, I heard many friends also got such dreams. Um, right? We really feel that that's real. And this king, when he wakes up in the morning, he felt so good, and he asks his minister, "Minister, tell me, am I the king that is ruling now in the daytime, or am I the butterfly that is flying and drinking honey from various flowers. Who am I really? The minister says, you are neither. You are witness in both cases. You are witness, the soul is the witness for both the situations. In the daytime, the soul is witnessing through its external consciousness. Now you adopted the duty of a king, but this is just an adopted duty. In the dream, you adopted the body of a butterfly in your dream. You are active at the subconscious level, in the dream level, and that is the reality at the time. In the daytime, this is the reality. You are neither king nor the butterfly. You are witness. You are the spirit soul in both, who is witnessing both these circumstances. In other words, everything we adopt in this world is just an adaptation. It's not what we are truly. We are the spirit soul. All these duties, all these things, I am this father, mother, I am son, I am engineer, these are all temporary designations. Designation means that exists for some time and changes after some time. It's not your permanent identity, right? In the dream, the designation is a butterfly. In the reality, in the daytime, of course, this designation lasts one lifetime, whatever you are, you're being the father or mother, but that's not who really you are. You are actually the spirit soul, servant of God. That's our real identity, right? Through the process of yoga, we actually connect to that absolute truth. That is our true identity. So that is our real connectivity to, that is the whole process of yoga. But if the soul is engaged in his natural function of Krishna consciousness, whatever he is able to do is good for him. Chatvasa dharmam charanambujam hare bhajan apatvotapate tato yadi yatra vavadram abuddha amusya kim kovarda apto bhajitam swadharmataha. If someone takes to Krishna consciousness, when we say Krishna consciousness, basically we are talking about absolute truth. One who takes to spiritual process fully. Even though he may not be following prescribed duties in the sastras or execute the devotion service properly, and even though he may fall down from the standard, there is no loss or evil for him. But if he carries out all the injunctions for purification in the sastras, what does it avail him if he is not Krishna conscious? This is for an advanced soul, not for anybody. For most of us, we need to adopt our duties. This is talking about a very, very advanced soul. Sometimes even very advanced, spiritually advanced soul also can fall down because of, momentary weakness or whatever. It is only talking about that. For example, in the scripture, we hear the stories of Bharat Maharaj, who was a very, very advanced spirit soul. But he was a great king. He gives up everything, all the kingdom, and goes to forest to meditate. And he was a great king, right? After whom actually our country was named Bharat, not the brother of Rama. Bharat Maharaj was even before Lord Rama's time. So he was a great king, and our Bharatvarsha is named after his kingdom, after his name. That king, he was a renunciant as a great king. He was ruling the entire world at the time, and towards the end of his life, he goes to forest to meditate, and at that time, he tries to save a deer who was about to die. And not only does that, he actually becomes a little bit attached to the deer. He tries to serve him like a father, always, and he gives up his focus on the spiritual activity. And towards his end of life comes. He was thinking, who will take care of this innocent deer? And he passes away like that, thinking about the deer. Unfortunately, by doing that activity, he gets punished and he gets a material body again. Even though he perfected all his life, but because your thoughts at the passing away time matter the most, because he was thinking about the deer and dies, he becomes a deer in his next life, unfortunately. But because he has done such advancement spiritually, he has done so much spiritual progress. As a deer also, he is very, very spiritually advanced, connected. He would stay in the he would stay in the corridors of great rishis, and he would eat only grass there, and he very dry grass. He would act very renunciantly in that life, because he was given the privilege of remembering all his spiritual progress in the past life, because he was so advanced or so. And he remembers all his past life. He just lives very piously in that, as a in the deer's body, and he gets a human body in the next life. And even in the human body, he remembers all his past lives, the two past lives. Because he missed the chance of perfecting his life, he was extremely cautious in this life. As the in this life, he's called Jada Bharat. Jada Bharat means he acts like he's a foolish man, because he's so conscious of getting entangled in the middle world. He acts like a foolish man, so that nobody praises him, nobody nobody thinks he's valuable. He acts like a foolish man in the third life. And because he had two bad experiences, he doesn't want to miss the experience, miss the boat of perfecting his life and going back to Godhead in this life. He acts like a fool. There is a great description of how he led his life in Bhagavatam. A very inspiring story. So the whole point is, even one may fall down, there is not much loss, because he's going to continue from where he stopped in his previous life. Again, the same point that we discussed previously. Yeah. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyanard vimudhatma mityachara sa uchate. Krishna gives second reason why we should not do. We should not give up his duty. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on the sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. In this world, we heard of many examples of people who adopt, like a great Babas or yogis, the external dress or external names, like Paramhamsa this, Paramhamsa that, or Jagat Guru XYZ. But internally, they are completely under the rule of their senses, right? Such a person is called a pretender. Pretender means a cheater. He's a hypocrite. He's doing something externally. Uh, you know, all his external actions are actually to cheat. Uh, he wants to use this external dress as a means for his um, cheating activity in the in his private life. There are people like this, so we should be very careful about whom we accept as spiritual authorities. There are so many cheaters in this world. If you are not, just like, if you don't know what is gold, and you try to go to in India, there are many shops they can easily cheat you. If you don't know what is real gold, and try to buy from any shop, you need to know, you need to trust the source from where you buy. Just like that, anything, vegetables, anything, right? You can easily get cheated in this world. So we need to know this is to alert us. So we have to be cautious when we believe in somebody in this world, right? There are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna consciousness but make a show of meditation while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers, but according to this verse, these are great cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order, but if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. Yeah. But if one makes of but he who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification must be called the greatest cheater. These are the greatest cheats. Those so-called gurus who actually act like gurus outside and are completely under the grip of the senses in their private life, and they cheat their followers. Uh, you know, they are the greatest cheaters. They may speak philosophy. It doesn't mean that what you speak has no relevance to what you do, right? There are there are many people who can sell rolled gold saying it is gold, just like that. So we cannot judge a person by his words only. We have to see their actions and understand who they are. And even what they speak should be in line with the scriptures. You cannot speak anything and everything, right? Just because I like it, I like the way he speaks. Some people have such feelings, right? But if you are serious spiritual, if you are a spiritual seeker, serious spiritual seeker, you should not be doing such things. It's not another kind of a pious entertainment. Spirituality is not another pious entertainment, right? It's a serious practice. We are practicing spiritual life so that we can perfect our life. So we cannot take it easily, right? We need to understand this philosophy and also practice in spiritual life. His knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever. Just because somebody has a big beard and adopted a nice robes and speaks nice philosophy, do not think they are actually great yogis. They could be they may be yogis. You need to know based on how well aligned their teachings are with the revealed scriptures, how well aligned. um, we need to make a test before we actually just believe by the externals. There are so many cheats in this world. Actually 95% of the people are cheats, so we have to be very careful in this world.
Prabhu, I have a question. Maybe it's maybe not exactly related, but it is a little bit related. So when we say that it should be in line with our scriptures, now we know that what is our scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and whatever great acharyas has explained all the spiritual philosophy. But one may say that some atheists or some people who believe in Brahman, they may have their own scriptures written by their parampara or whoever, and they may believe in that. So how do we say they are still following the correct way of living versus not?
Yes. So if, like I said, everybody can attribute something to their own guru or whatever, right? But
Yes.
you need to check whether the guru is coming in a parampara, in a bona fide sampradaya. Right? There are only, as per scripture already tells what are the bona fide sampradayas. There is Siri Sampradaya, there is Nimbarka Sampradaya,
Yes.
there is, Rudra Sampradaya and Brahma Sampradaya. Brahma, Rudra, Lakshmi or
Kumar.
Kumar Sampradaya.
Yes.
Only these 4 Sampradayas. Now, for example, there is Chinazir Swami. He comes under Lakshmi Sampradaya.
Mm-hmm.
Lakshmi Sampradaya. It's a bona fide Sampradaya. You can
Yeah.
follow the teacher.
I see.
He's a perfect teacher. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, there are bona fide Sampradayas in the north. Also, like the one we follow is called Brahma Sampradaya.
Yeah, Brahma.
Original propounder is Lord Brahma himself.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the recent greatest acharyas are in the like last 1,000 years. If you see, 1,000 years back there is Madhvacharya,
Madhvacharya.
and after that 500 years back there is Lord Chaitanya, who also came in the same line.
Yes.
And before that there are many other teachers. Ramanujacharya came like 1,000 years back.
Yes.
So these teachings are very tested processes for thousands and thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we want to experiment our life with some teachings and we don't know whether those work or not, right? So we have to be very careful when we adopt any random teacher. And the test is, for example, in this book, there is word-to-word meaning and translation and
Yes. Yes.
how
Yes.
many teachers would give word-to-word meaning? This gives the authority to this book.
Absolutely, bro.
Right?
Yes.
And he
Yes.
refers to various verses from various scriptures. If anybody follows such books and such references, like for example here we refer to this Bhagavatam, right? Where
Yes.
a verse number, everything is given.
Yeah, exactly. Quote, quote.
If you adopt such teachers, what happens is every lesson you receive is completely in line with the ultimate goal. You try to read other teachers' books. I read so many books. I'm not here for the first time. I just adopted this one. I followed Vivekananda. I followed Paramahansa Yogananda. I followed
Krishna.
Chinmaya Mission.
Yeah.
Name it. I followed 5-6 other processes.
Very well.
And when we follow, we claim, you need to get some conviction.
Yes.
How do you get some conviction? That happened with me when I studied Prabhupada's books. I got convinced this is the way I want to do my life. This is the way. Now I landed in a place. There is authority in what he's speaking. And everything he teaches, just like a liar backs up with his law, he backs up with a verse. That gave me conviction. And he said, this is not what I am giving. I'm only repeating what my teachers gave me. He's always grateful to his teachers. That convinced me this is actually something that works.
Yeah, makes sense, Prabhu.
Yeah.
So, Prabhu, then all the Christian, Islam, whatever they have, their scriptures, how do we treat them? I mean, we should definitely treat what we are reading as the best possible option. But if somebody says, "Oh, it is written in the so and so things in Islam or Quran or Bible," so how one should think as a devotee from our end to treat those?
I give the example of if you go to, there are many karate schools.
Yes.
Right? Each karate school teaches a specific way of doing karate.
Yes.
If you go to any school, they tell this is the only way it works the best.
Yes.
And each of them work actually. The reason many of these other process like Christianity and all, they adopt this process of, hey, this is the only way to God, there is no other way, kind of a practice, right? The reason is to give, if somebody is trying to follow that, but he is doubtful all the time, or maybe that other process is better than this process, who knows? I just got caught up here.
Right.
Some people think like that. So it is an instruction for them to actually convince them to follow that process with full faith.
Oh, okay, full faith.
It is not a
it's not for comparison or something.
It's not a comparison of the real process.
Makes
right?
sense. Yes.
And in reality, Christianity teachings, if you go back to original teachings of Christianity, they are very much in line with Bhagavad Gita, but not to the extent of Bhagavad Gita. If you compare the teachings of Bible versus Bhagavad Gita,
Yes.
Bible teachings are like preliminary teachings of spirituality.
Okay.
Thou shall not kill, and love your God with all your soul and all your heart. All these are instructions in Gita also at various levels. But if you look at the students of Bible, who are the people who Jesus was teaching to, right? The teacher can only give instructions according to the level of the students. If I go teach math class to second grader, I teach at their level.
You won't understand.
I go teach to a PhD student, I teach at a different level. The same teacher who is qualified to teach both, but teaches at a different level. We accept Jesus as a great teacher, a great spiritual teacher.
Got it.
Or our acharyas accept Jesus as a great teacher. But the students who he gave the wisdom, Saint Paul, who all actually put their own experiences in Bible, right?
Yes.
Bible is basically compilation of all these apostles
Yes.
who are the followers of Jesus.
Yes. Yes.
Jesus was a great devotee of Lord. He taught Bhakti Yoga. Muhammad also taught Bhakti Yoga, by the way. But what I'm trying to say is, but over the time, the teachings got diluted very rapidly in Christianity. That was a big problem with Christianity. So now, if you take any Bible, you never know what is the real reality, because they could not maintain the parampara strongly.
Yes, Prabhu.
While you take the teachings of any of our parampara, especially Brahma Sampradaya and Lakshmi Sampradaya, they both maintained the original teachings very well. So when the purity of the teachings is maintained from the root teacher, right?
Yes.
Lord Krishna gave the teaching. From there, when the teachings come down to us, right? When the teachings were adopted as is, the effect is going to be as good as Krishna directly teaching to you, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that
Yes.
sanctity, the maintenance of sanctity is the real thing.
Real importance.
That's why when Krishna consciousness came to West, so many people have started following it. Thousands and thousands of people adopted teachings of Gita, because it all it's not about whether Bible is correct or Gita is correct. It's about how well you present the teachings, how purely you present the teachings. Are you able to give the original intent of Krishna or not?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That really connected with the people, and many Americans have no problem accepting Krishna as God, because the teachings are universal. There is nothing like this is for Hindus, or there is no teaching. Like, for example, the verse we discussed: one who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. This is applicable whether you are an American or Indian or Japanese. It doesn't matter.
All living entities.
Yeah, you are a soul. It doesn't matter whether you're Indian or American, right?
Yeah.
So the teachings of Gita have universal appeal,
Yes, Prabhu.
right?
Yeah. Wonderful.
People have happily adopted. They have no problem in accepting Krishna as God.
Right.
Krishna is
So
not
what you're telling is when Bhagavad Gita was being told by Krishna to Arjuna, the conscious level was very high.
Correct.
And then when the Bible and Quran was told, conscious level was much different.
Correct.
For those different people.
Arjuna is like a PhD student. He already knows all Dharma Shastras. So Krishna gave him a very high levels of principles.
Yes.
Versus the fisherman who got the lessons from. Actually, Jesus himself told, "I have much more to teach you, but you are not ready right now."
You cannot hear me.
Yeah, very clearly told to all his students.
Yes, bro. Beautiful. I think some Mataji was trying to speak.
Yes. Anybody?
Yeah, Prabhu, I was just saying, so like some very basic teachings of Bible, how can it be diluted? Like something like thou shall not kill. That doesn't mean they should not kill only humans. It means they should not kill any animals too
Yeah, that's
and
true.
eat them, right? So
Yeah,
how can something like that be diluted? Like this is a very basic teaching.
yeah, that's what Prabhupada used to argue with them. Uh, thou shall not kill. They adopted as thou shall not murder. So unfortunately, they diluted all the teachings. There is still churches and there are some sincere followers. As long as the student is sincere, they would follow and achieve advancement. But definitely, the teachings are definitely not at the same level. That's why there are even in there are highly educated people in those Christians who actually study Gita just for better understanding of philosophy and the nature of God, the nature of everything in this world. And these scholars, they really appreciate Gita, even though they completely adopted Christianity. They still like to, because this is another book to learn about God. That's how they see.
Yeah,
Still
absolutely.
practice
Knowledge
their own.
seeker. These are the knowledge seeker.
Yeah, knowledge seekers. Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you for a great explanation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I do have a question on that, the question from my Mataji though, because in the Old Testament in the Bible, like they used to do sacrifices, like I think it's Abraham, like they used to do sacrifices for their Lord, right? Like they used to have a sacrificial story. And the only reason why I know this is because I went to Christian school, Prabhuji. So they used to always show us the stories of Jesus, like every year closer to Christmas, like the school would have us watch the life of Jesus Christ and like a movie. And in that, like they show that the olden days, like they used to provide sacrifices to the Lord because they could not understand, right, like the power, and God would accept those. And these sacrifices were usually like what you like reap from your fields or animals that you have. Like they used to do sacrifices, and the part where they eat meat is because, I mean, at least what I have heard is they say that anything that's provided in this world can also be like food for humans. So that's kind of how they see it, and that's why people like Christians usually like believe. So even though their 10 commandments says thou shall not kill, it's actually thou shall not kill like humans or other people. It really, I don't think they practice thou shall not kill animals or like plants per se, because I don't think there is the concept of like everything has a soul like how we believe in Bhagavad Gita, right?
They don't accept that they have animals and plants have soul.
Right, exactly.
In
Right.
fact, one more thing I want to clarify over here while we are here. We understand plants have life, just like animals. We don't encourage killing of animals, but we all of us eat plants, right? At least.
Right.
How do you
Right.
justify eating plants?
Exactly.
I would ask all of you this question. Can anybody answer? How do we all eat? Like we all eat food, rice, and all, dals, and all these things. But how do you justify this? Because we should not kill, actually, ideally.
Actually, we have to offer the food to
Right.
God, then we have to eat, even though
Wow,
it's a plant-based.
answer. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta prayachati. So if you offer me with love a flower or a fruit or a leaf, I will accept. If you offer with love, with love, if you offer, I will accept. Whatever you offer to Lord, you can accept as prasad of Lord. So whatever food we cook, if you eat directly, that would have some kind of reaction actually. It may not be, if it is vegetarian, it may not be bad, but ideally, at least in your mind, if you don't right now offer to God, at least pray to God, thank you for, because everything in this world that we get, what is that? It is actually mercy of God. That's how we have to see the breathe, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. So in gratitude to God, just remember God before we eat. Or if you can do that, you can also put all the food that you're cooking before the Lord, that you have cooked before the Lord, and eat it after that. Right?
Right, but Prabhuji, only if you make sattvic food, right? Like without onions and garlic, you can offer to the God, right? Otherwise, like you cannot. So
Yeah, we
in
cannot
those,
give anything, right? Just like we cannot give anything to President if it comes to our home.
Prab, Prab, Prabhuji, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Yeah, Krishna himself says what he wants to accept.
Uh-huh.
Phalam, Pushpam. So we can only give what Krishna accepts, God accepts.
So all the other foods that we eat without offering, then does that mean it's pap? Like we do accrue some karmic burden because we are eating things that
Yeah,
we have not.
yeah, there will be some minor reaction. It won't be like a drastic if it is vegetarian. Yeah, there will be some minor reaction though.
I
But
have a
but if you remember God, that's why remember God before doing an action like that. Any action, just remember God. Thank Him, at least in your in your own language. Just thank, be grateful to God. That will take away reaction right away, right there.
so I have a Muslim friend. They don't eat meat without that halal. So first I didn't understand that one, but then I thought he's a vegetarian. But later I understood that he will eat meat, but only when it is offered or something that prayer is done.
Yeah.
So they follow it so strictly. Like that, we should try to follow as much as possible for vegetarian also.
Yes, Srividya Mataji, very nice answer. And actually, the people that um, Muhammad Muhammad has to deal with are even completely downgraded. These, some of the teachings of Muhammad are like in Quran, like you know, don't engage in relation with your own mother, um, you know,
Or sister, yes.
our sister.
Yes.
Those are very bad. Such low level teachings, because the people are so low level. And if you ask them to stop eating meat, they would say, forget, I don't want God. So all these the different religions, they actually advance soul to a certain level. They're not going to achieve you perfect goal to go back to God. No, they're not there. Definitely, they're
I think
definitely
those
not.
principles may be elevating them to the level that they can start understanding
Yes, they would
in their
elevate
future lives.
But one irony is like nowadays those people are so much attached to their principles, whatever they teach, and we are not following our more at all.
Yeah,
We are not adhering to our rules at all. They are following whatever one book is there. They're following as
yeah.
far as I understand.
Every other religion follows their different religion very sincerely. Unfortunately, the rule of British has such influence on Indians. British rule, they 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 attacked our core structure. They stopped kind of prayers. They adopted us to you know many things. They really removed our culture from us, right?
They shake the faith,
They
yes.
shaken our core. So the education system was completely broken after that. When we came off that independence, now now also we don't. Right now, current government is trying to inculcate those values again, revive those original culture within India. But otherwise, for last 60 years, the governments have actually degraded even further. British
Yes.
took away 90%, the remaining 10% these people took away. So kind of education system we have right now that makes us think there is no God. Unfortunately, it creates more and more doubt. They completely. It's all based on humanistic philosophy. There is a philosophy between by there is a philosophy behind how the education system and the books are created currently. The people who do that, they are called humanists. Humanists are people who want to reason everything without the existence of God. Means they create education system and books such that by reading them, you start questioning God's existence very strongly. Right? Like many of us were religious or spiritual in the early young age, but as we study engineering and all the higher education, we start questioning, does God really exist? Even I had such struggle until 20, 21, 22, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Um, our faith.
Prabhuji, yeah, I think what you are telling is about is education, the scriptural understanding. Earlier used to exist in our studies, now it doesn't exist. But
Yeah,
for Muslim and Christians, I think they go to their churches or wherever and they
American.
learn part of it. So they may develop a faith. But I think for us, there is always a struggle unless we read
So
these
there
scriptures.
is so much effort spent on ridiculing Hinduism and whatever is teaching. That's why, and we are forced to read those things only. So, and we ourselves think ours is very inferior to others. So that's the reason I think.
Exactly. And we lost the spirit part. We only have
Yes,
ritual part. And so
yes,
we
yes.
go to temple, to just
The
give
rituals.
a coconut and,
Yes,
do some puja and come back. That's not, temple is supposed to be like a university for educating us on spirituality. But
yes.
the way we adopted right now, the pujari doesn't know anything. And we adopt it like the way we adopted the current way of temple worship. Yeah, it really feels like a sentiment. And when I was also like that, I used to feel this is complete sentiment and waste of time. I never felt like going to temple because I felt like this is accepting my own weakness. That's
Mhm.
why I'm going there, because I can't do myself. I want God's help to get things done. I used to have I'm like a um, completely atheistic actually, unfortunately. Until 22, until I studied my first year in IIT,
Mhm.
my mom was a devout Sri Vaishnavi. Sri Vaishnavi means, she wakes up in the morning at 4 o'clock,
Oh,
and
Brahma Muhurta.
she, every morning she does, um, worship, and, with muddy she would cook for Lord. She does all those things, at least in the, like 20 years back, it was like that.
Wow.
Um, I am at the home and I am a complete atheist who would not do any of this. But
Okay.
when I studied Gita and I
Uh-huh.
in touch with people who have the real understanding, the core concepts of Gita, that
Yes.
really changed my understanding and perception of all this. And
Yes,
I've
bro.
come to conclusion that this is the real highest philosophy that we have.
Yes, bro. So I think difference is all knowledge, right, Prabhu? Here.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think we went off
Thank you. Wonderful explanation and good discussion, bro.
a good discussion today. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you
bro.
all for contributing your viewpoint. This is how it should be. The class should be interactive, because ultimately we want to adopt these principles. If somebody asks what does this mean, we should be able to tell them, right? That's the whole idea. Okay,
Right.
thank you all. I went little over time today. I'm sorry for that.
Oh, that's
We'll
fine.
keep the time next time. Okay,
Thanks, Prabhu.
from verse.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Have a good week and try to chant, all of you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.